Welcome everyone on the meetup. We are going to talk about Fablo, which is a tool to start Hyperledger Fabric network, mostly in local environments, in local use cases. Could you change a slide, Daniel? So basically, our goal is to make Hyperledger Fabric startup declarative. Instead of, I believe you all know that configuring Hyperledger Fabric is a kind of pain. It's a very complex tool, and our goal, a couple of years ago, when we were started with Fablo, was to make it simple in a single file. So you have a single configuration file at the beginning. It can be JSON or YAML. In this case, we have JSON, which gets transformed to a local Hyperledger Fabric network running on the network on Docker. And this is the exact network on the diagram on the right, which will be created on the basis of this file. So you have Fabric version, whether there's TLS or not, the list of organizations, orders, peers, types of databases, channels, chain codes, and all of this. The primary goal of Fablo when we were creating it was to simplify local Fabric setup because it is complex. But what it's maybe not so obvious, but even more important, it was to shorten feedback loop, like shorten development cycle. So speed up your development process, make the time before you change through deployment to verification, make it shorter so you can iterate fast on the network. Also, our goal is to allow to experiment with multiple network configurations because we have plenty of configuration options. We can provide multiple order groups. We can use different fabric versions, different consensus protocols, chain codes, private data, and so on. And also, a common use case for Fablo is run Fabric network in continuous integration processes. I personally have used it in all three GitHub Actions, GitLab Pipelines, and Jenkins, and it just works. And Fablo on this year internship of Fablo, we were focusing on feature parity between versions, Fabric version 2 and version 3, on some bug fixes, and we also managed to implement some new features like Chaincode-as-a-Service, export the network topology to Mermaid diagrams, and improve our hooks. My name is Jakub. I'm one of the mentors for this year internship. There's also Great, who is a mentor, and we have two mentees this year, Daniel from Nigeria and Osama from Egypt. And they are going to conduct the rest of this presentation. There will be some live demos as well, and maybe at the end of the intro, special thanks to Ronald, who is our host, who also contributed to Fablo. He implemented a sample for Fabric Gateway. So go guys, Daniel, please start.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pereowei Daniel, and I'm going to be talking to you about Chaincode-as-a-Service with Fablo. Basically, we're going to talk about how we modernize Chaincode deployment, and I'm going to do it in 3 simple steps. The first, we're going to discuss the problem with the traditional Chaincode deployments, where the pair and the Chaincode is tightly coupled. We're going to discuss the solution that Chaincode-as-a-Service brings, and I'm going to show a quick demo of how it works and how you can easily start working with it. So the initial problem with Fablo, the initial problem with chain codes in Fablo has been the slow development loop. So the traditional deployment tightly couples the peer to the chain code, forcing the peer to become the chain code manager. So the peer is responsible for installing and running the chain code, which can be a problem, and it creates a slow development loop. It means every small change in the chain code requires you to go through the peer chain code lifecycle over again, which means any bug fix, anything you need to do, you have to restart the entire network just because of that. And the solution that Chaincode-as-a-Service brings, the Chaincode now runs as an independent preview network service that stands alone from the peer. And switching, like I said, moving from traditional tightly coupled deployment into just running as an independent network, it's an easy change in terms of user experience. You just have to make changes to your JSON, Fablo config JSON, switching the language from a specific programming language into the tag Chaincode-as-a-Service or CCaaS, and specifying an image instead of using from source. And what does the pair do at this point? The only thing that is installed in the pair is the connection.json, a simple metadata file that contains the details of the chain code and the ports, basically the host name or the IP address, or if it's in the same network, the container name and ports, how the pair is going to communicate with the chain code. And the pair connects to the chain code via gRPC. So let's see Fablo in action. In a few simple steps, I'll initialize Fablo, show you how Chaincode-as-a-Service works, and invoke query Chaincode. Let's get into the terminal here. To initialize Fablo, you have to run a command. After installing Fablo, you run Fablo init, CCaaS, that's Chaincode-as-a-Service. What this does is it generates a Fablo config JSON that we're going to use. So this is the Fablo config JSON. And like Jakub mentioned earlier, this JSON contains the definition, the full definition of the network, from the global configuration, like the Fabric version, TLS choices, the engine, to organizations, to certificate authority, orders, consensus types, endorsement policies, and so on, channels, and all the way down to the chain code. So as you can see here, we have the language as Chaincode-as-a-Service, and we have an image that we're going to be building from. So in order to start the Fablo network, we're going to run Fablo up. And while this is running, if you pay attention to the container section, we're going to see the containers gradually come up. We have some certificates that need generating because we have TLS enabled in the Fablo config JSON. So we're going to generate those certificates, pull up all the necessary containers for the network, and then start the chain codes. So here we have a full Fabric Hyperledger Fabric network here. We have a Fabric 2, which is CLI container. We have a certificate authority, the orderers, and the pairs. And how do we know this chain code is working? How do we know this network is working, rather? You can simply invoke the chain code. I'm going to copy and paste command because it's a bit long. So what this command does essentially is this. We have Fablo chain code invoke. That's the initial command that tells us we want to invoke a chain code, and then it takes the pair name. This is the pair address. It takes the channel we're invoking the chain code in and chain code name. So if you go back to our Fablo config JSON, you can see that we have the chain code name as chain code 1, and it belongs to the channel name, my channel 1. And those are the parameters we have here. And this argument is the function we're calling and the parameters the function has. So I'm going to go ahead and execute this. And we have a successful result. Let's run a second command. This is called query. It's similar and it behaves in a similar manner. The same construct with the previous one. We have Fablo chain code query, the pair address, the channel, the chain code, and the arguments. This is calling a different function. Our initial one we had put. This is calling a different function called get, and it takes only one argument in the function. And when we execute this, we are having success, and this is a success message. So yeah, that's how Fablo works naturally with Chaincode-as-a-Service and the chain codes existing on its own. So if I want to take down this network, I can easily run Fablo prune, and you'll see how the entire network goes down. go ahead and refresh this. You're not going to see any containers anymore. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and look at a different feature that Chaincode-as-a-Service provides us. This is called hot reload. So if you permit me, I'm going to make a directory here. Let's call it demo2. And if we go into demo2, now we're going to run Fablo init node dev. We're going to run a Node.js chain code in development mode, and I'm going to explain what exactly that means. So this is going to generate a few things. You can see the difference between our initial Fablo command generated only the Fablo config JSON, but this guy has a sample chain code in here, and it has the Fablo config JSON as well. So if you look at the differences between this, we are using a custom node image, and we have some other parameters like chain code mount path. This tells node1 where we're mounting the chain code from, and then we're using this command to start the chain code. And this command under the hood, if you check the package.json, is running a node1 command, right? So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up so you can see what I'm talking about. So Fablo up, and it's going to take the same amount of time to bring up the network. If you inspect the containers, you'll see them gradually coming back up. Generating certificates, and we have our network. If I refresh this, you'll see the entire network here. So you're probably wondering what's different between what I did before and what I'm doing now. So if you inspect the logs of this guy, this is one of the chain codes. Our network has 2 instances. That's why we have multiple chain codes here. So it's just for fault tolerance, and it's just one of the chain codes. Now, if you take a look at the logs, you can see that the chain code has started with the command and is running. Now let's go back to our terminal, and before that, I would like to show you something. If you take a look at index.js, this is the put command that we call when we do Fablo chain code invoke. This is the response we get, success okay, if you remember correctly. Now I'm going to execute that same chain code invoke command, and we're going to see something change. So if I execute this, I'm expecting a response called success okay, right? That's what we get. So if I go in here now, I want you to pay attention to the logs. I'm going to change the message, and let's just change it to something simple, good. And once this saves, we will observe that the chain code has restarted with the new changes. So if I go back and try to execute that same command, we'll be expecting to get a different response. And that's how the hot reload feature works. So what have we just done? We have moved the chain code from being tightly coupled with the pair node into an independent chain code container, and it works. And what this does for us is it unlocks developer velocity. Naturally, Fablo mimics the real-world blockchain architecture in Hyperledger, and as a developer that's using Chaincode-as-a-Service, it takes your productivity through the roof. There's zero friction debugging. Basically, you can do pair dev mode. We have a feature called pair dev mode, and with Chaincode-as-a-Service, there are no restrictions. The lightning fast iteration, you can simply update code and chain code restart, and the pair connects instantly. There's no need for restarting the network like it used to be before. So I'm sure you have, I'm sure you're going to have some questions, but at this time, I would like to invite my colleague Osama to talk about visualizing Mermaid, visualizing network topologies using Mermaid and hooks in Fablo.
Hello everyone, I'm Osama Rabea. Today I will talk about 2 features in Fablo, Mermaid and hooks. you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Fabric network are hard to visualize and understand from configuration file. Sorry. Complex Hyperledger Fabric network are hard to visualize and understand from configuration file. So Mermaid solves that by automatically generate a clear Mermaid diagram that make it easier to visualize, report, and explain the network topology and relationship. Second feature, hooks. Hooks are simple but very powerful feature in Fablo. Sometimes we need to modify the generated file after network generated, or after network start, we need to perform additional setup, but doing that manually isn't easy. Hooks make this process much easier by letting Fablo run this command for you automatically. Before Mermaid, Fablo could generate a full Hyperledger Fabric network. The network structure was defined only YAML or JSON configuration file, which were not easy to read or understand. They also made it difficult to present and to communicate the topology to other team members. Also, there was no simple way to visualize or document how everything was connected. Now we have a clear diagram that visualize, represent all organization and peer and how they are connected. Let's see in action demo. Here, first we have a simple configuration file containing global section, organization, channel, and chain code. Imagine if you want to describe this network to someone or even understand how everything is connected just by logging to this configuration file, it can be quite confused at first. Now I will show you how Fablo automatically generate a clear visualized diagram. Fablo have two approach to generate topology diagram. First one, which generate automatically by for each generate command. Fablo, how now we have a clear diagram that represent all network and how they are connected. Second approach in Fablo to run for this feature to run it manually. Now imagine you need to describe this network or you need to create a robot. Instead of copy this configuration file into robot, you can include the diagram directly. Now export. Here we have a Mermaid diagram. Here all detail in network and the connection. And when we talk about this feature, it mainly improve understanding, reporting, presentation, and communication. It helps us to visualize complex network relationship so we can easily see how all components are connected. It also improve presentation because we can share clear and always up to date diagram with the other team member or stakeholder. Overall, it brings better communication, making it much easier to explain complex fabric topology to developer or newcomers. Second feature I will talk about its hook. Hooks in Fablo are a bash command to be executed after a specific event. It allows you to automatically run custom command. This gives you flexibility to modify or extend the generated file without manually editing them every time. Now let's take a look at the main at the main stake in Fablo network lifecycle and where the hook are executed. First, we start with generated config. This is where Fablo create all the configuration file for the network component. Then we have the post generate hook. This run right after the configuration is generated. Next, Fablo generate the certificate like certification and Genesis blocks. After that, we start the network, which means bring up all container and services. Then come the post start hook. This one is executed right after the network is up and running. Finally, network goes through the normal fabric operation, install channel and chain code. Post generate hook. You can use post generate hook to change file generated by Fablo. For instance, you can change default max message count provided in Fablo config file. Also, you can change port in generated Docker Compose file. Making this change might not be simple since you need to use terminal utilities, but is possible with hooks. Hooks also allow you to keep custom chain for your own network configuration. Second hooks, post start. Before post start, if you want to run a extra setup command after starting the network, we need to do it manually. But now the post start hook, we can automate with post start hook, we can automate this setup. Let's see in action demo. Here. First, I will run Fablo up. In Fablo config JSON, we have two hooks here, post generate and post start. Here, as you can see, post generate it executed after network file generated. Executing post generate hook. After that, we run Fablo start all services and the container. So here, sorry, if you can see, sorry, where it is here. As you can see, after network start, we're executing second hook. Hooks executed in, we have hooks in Fablo target. We have hooks directory. First one for post generate, it's the hooks. These hooks exchange max message count, default value in configuration file it 10. These hooks change it to 1. Second hooks here, which run to if you need to channel list for given beer, you can run this hook instead of run this hook manually. Right here, you can include this hook inside the Fablo config, and the Fablo will run this hook for you automatically. That's all for Mermaid and hook. I hope it's clear so far. Now let's move on to next one.
Thank you, Osama. So one of the major targets of this mentorship this year was ensuring feature parity, and we created this document to help us track the feature parity between the two major versions of Fabric, V2 and V3. So you can see everything on this document contains the CI tests we ran and tested and the features that Fablo supports. We have consensus, BFT, Raft, Solo, we have TLS, we have other groups, peer dev mode, different types of databases for peer and certificate authorities. We have channel query script, Chaincode, we have Node, Go, Java supported in Fablo. And with Chaincode-as-a-Service, you can actually run Chaincode written in any language, as long as it can be containerized. I mean, which is pretty much all languages currently, except you're writing Chaincodes in COBOL or Fortran. We have endorsement policies, private data collections, Chaincode scripts, different commands for install, upgrade, query, and invoke. We have tools like Fablo REST, Explorer. We have Fablo commands for generate, like I mentioned earlier, prune, recreate, down, reset. We talked about network topologies with Mermaid and snapshot. Snapshot is a very powerful feature as well that Fablo has for taking snapshots of your network and exporting them, sharing with your team. It can improve custom functionality as well. Other features that Fablo supports, we have connection profile, gateway client, hooks, as Osama talked about, and we have JSON and YAML support. Thank you very much. I'm going to be inviting Jakub to take questions at this time.
Yes, thank you guys. Thanks Daniel. Thanks Osama for your demos and presentation. This is a time when you can ask some questions if you have any. So please go. As David mentioned at the beginning, feel free to ask them on the chat if you want. No questions. So maybe I will ask one to participants. You feel free to write on messages. Have you used Fablo? Are you familiar with our tool? No answers as well. Okay, so thank you everyone for listening. I will probably hand off to either Ronald or David. Feel free to reach us out either on GitHub or feel free to find us on LinkedIn or whenever you want to contact us. Feel free to contribute if you want. Any issues are welcome. Any contributions are welcome. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. These are really good new features. This will be good. All right, I don't think we have any questions, so we could just wrap it up. So have a good day, everyone. Thank you.
Have a nice
All right,
day.
thanks, everyone.